In Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine murders Mace Windu when he blasts him with Force lightning and throws him out the window. This sets in motion Order 66 and the eventual destruction of the Jedi Order and rise of the Empire. In today's video, we are going to discuss what would happen if Mace Windu went to Mustafar with Obi-Wan. For this to happen, we will have to change some precursors. Firstly, Mace would survive his fall after Sidious blasted him out his office window. As he fell to the streets below, he used what little power he had left to grab hold of a speeder before he hit the ground. This broke his fall and meant the Jedi Master survived. The Jedi Master would have to get his limb replaced. Coruscant was on high alert with clone troopers everywhere after the initiation of Order 66. Mace travels to an old friend whom he had met on Cato Nemoidia almost 2 decades earlier when he protected his family from danger. The Nemoidian now resided on one of the lower levels on Coruscant. It is there that he is able to get his medical aid without drawing attention to himself. During this time, Mace thought of the recent events. Palpatine. He had manipulated the entire Republic for over a decade. But what boiled his emotions was Anakin. He never trusted him and knew that his attachments would get the better of him. Windu calmed himself before the darkness took hold. But maintaining peace was a difficult prospect in these dark times. His injuries from the lightning were not critical. When we compare how much lightning he endured compared to Luke on the Death Star, Windu received much less, and therefore he should be fine to continue. Mace would immediately make contact with Yoda through a private comm channel where they arrange a meetup between Yoda and Obi-Wan as they strategize what to do next. Windu wasn't a Jedi who was full of emotion. He was stoic and rarely reacted based on pure emotion. Because of this, he was able to set aside his feelings of hatred, anger, and sadness for his fallen Jedi family. The events would follow suit. They go back to the Jedi Temple to change the distress signal, asking all Jedi to return to the temple. Mace told Obi-Wan and Yoda that it was Anakin who sacked the Jedi Temple as he saw him commit treason. Kenobi dropped to his knees and he was filled with piercing emotions. Mace told Obi-Wan and Yoda about what Anakin did to him and that it must be him who sacked the Jedi Temple, and they confirmed this on the security recordings. In this moment, Yoda would tell Obi-Wan and Windu to locate Anakin and kill him, whilst he goes to face the Emperor. The two would travel to Mustafar after sneaking onto Padme's ship. Where everything changes is when the Jedi reveal themselves to Anakin. As Anakin chokes his wife, Windu takes action, leaping forward and capitulating Anakin with the Force and saving Padme's life. Anakin was enraged, the lava landscape casting an eerie red glow upon his entire figure. He thought he had ended Windu, the man whom he hated the most in the Jedi Order. He wouldn't fail again. Anakin leaped forward and swung for the two Jedi. Mace and Obi-Wan met Anakin's attack with a seamless energy, their lightsabers weaving a web of vibrant energy as they deflected his strikes. Mace's mastery of Vapid, a form of lightsaber combat that drew strength from the dark side, allowed him to channel Anakin's aggression against him. Obi-Wan's precise movements complemented Mace's raw power, creating a deadly dance that left Anakin struggling to keep up. His swings grew desperate, and he found himself on the defensive, unable to land a significant blow against the combined might of the two Jedi. Mace's violet blade arced through the air with an unparalleled force, breaking through Anakin's defenses and landing a painful cut across his arm. Exploiting this opportunity, Windu and Kenobi pressed forward and are able to lightly slice Skywalker across his legs, rendering him immobile. He fell to the floor, defeated. Staring down at his greatest enemy, Windu desired to finish the job, here and now. He always hated Skywalker, and now with the pain of losing the entire Jedi Order, he could give over to the dark side and murder him. But Obi-Wan was the voice of reason, as he always is, calling out to the Master that it's not the Jedi way, and he must exercise restraint. Handcuffs are placed on Anakin, as he and Padme are placed aboard their ship as they exit the planet. Anakin and Padme are taken to Polis Massa, where Yoda meets with them after his defeat against Sidious. He was ashamed of himself, but knew with their combined forces of Windu and Kenobi, they could defeat him. During this time, Padme gave birth to the twins and survived. Obi-Wan was by her side, who explained that Anakin was alive and at the medical facility with them. This was all the information he gave her in her weak state, but it was enough to make sure that she survived the pregnancy. Anakin was placed under constant watch. knowing the power and anger he possessed, but for now, he could not escape. The Jedi planned their next move, knowing that Palpatine was the key to everything. If they could destroy him, then the Empire would crumble and the Republic could return. They sneaked back into Coruscant, where they planned to confront Sidious. Sidious had sensed through the Force that Anakin had been defeated, but it didn't matter to him. The Empire was established, and he had complete control over the galaxy. There was no one left to oppose him. In Palpatine's mind, Mace Windu is dead, and he already defeated Yoda, whom he wouldn't expect to make another play this soon. And he knew that Kenobi alone didn't pose much of a threat. He is the true Emperor of the galaxy. It is impossible to explain the level of shock and anger he felt when witnessing these 3 Jedi entering his office on Coruscant. He stood to his feet, scoffing and commanding the troopers on either side of him to attack. But Yoda threw his saber into their chest, and Kenobi force pushed the other out of the fight. Sidious had no choice but to stand and fight. He pulled a lightsaber from one of his vases and leapt forward, attacking with pure hatred and aggression. He'd killed 3 Jedi Masters before. He would do it again. Kenobi immediately placed his strikes on the defensive. Being the master of the defensive Form 3 Surisu, he was able to maintain his presence in the duel. Yoda and Windu make eye contact as they are certain they can defeat the Emperor. Sidious blasts lightning at Yoda, giving Windu a chance to strike with all his might. As Yoda deflects the lightning bolts, Windu lunges forward and aims for Sidious's chest. Witnessing the strike, Sidious moved his blade to block it, but it was too late. Mace Windu's violet blade struck deep into the Sith Lord's chest as he cried out in pain. He was dead. With Sidious's death, the Jedi quickly moved to restore the Republic back to power. The Empire had only just been initiated for around 2 days, but they had to persuade the entire Senate of their innocence in a long and grueling trial. The turning point was when Bail Organa was voted in as the new Supreme Chancellor, who gave immense support to the Jedi. Evidence was presented to show that it was Palpatine who orchestrated the Clone War and was behind everything. The Kaminoans came out and explained under oath that inhibitor chips were placed in the clone troopers' heads by Count Dooku that would allow the Chancellor to manipulate their actions. The Jedi were reinstated and began to slowly rebuild under the guidance of Yoda, Mace Windu, and Obi-Wan. Anakin's fate was less desirable. He too was placed on trial for crimes against the Republic. Anakin had a lot of support from various people, such as Padme, who as a senator held lots of influence. Padme knew deep down who Anakin was and would fight her hardest to make sure that man returned. Because of this, she fought with the Senate to ensure that Anakin would receive a lesser sentence and her children could grow up with their father, as she believed he still had the power to return to the man he once was. They explained that Anakin was only following the orders of the Chancellor when he attacked the Jedi Temple. His refusal of these orders could be seen as treason, but it was the murder of the children and sheer scale of death that led to the Senate to believe he was guilty. But the arguments from Anakin's side could not be ignored, and as a result, he was given 10 years in maximum prison compared to the life sentence that he was facing. At first, Padme found it difficult to forgive Anakin for what he had done. She fought as his lawyer in the Senate out of love and hope for the man she once knew, but the person whom he had become was undeniable. However, the senator from Naboo devoted herself to bringing Anakin back to the light and ensuring that he was redeemed. She knew the man she had fallen in love with was still in there, and she would fight to get him out. During his time in incarceration, Padme never left Anakin's side, and he was constantly visited by his family. For the first few years, this was tough and daunting. Anakin seemed like a different person, but he was still in there. Everything changed when his children began to walk and talk to him. He realized his mistakes. He had committed all of his atrocities to protect his family, when in reality, he had only torn them apart. This was a difficult perspective for Anakin to grasp, and the visits from his old friends, Obi-Wan and Ahsoka, only provoked him. But their constant belief in Anakin and positivity that they still care for him was what he needed. Once his 10-year sentence was served, Anakin and his family moved to Naboo